Hey folks, give me a hot second here to punch my signal real quick, and then we're going to get back into some more map work here. So hold on just a hot moment. Check my signal. Hold on just a hot moment. Cool. That works. And I just got to hit the Twitter here real quick. Here. Alright, signal boosted, so let's get into this. So we're continuing our map vignette work here. As you can see, we're building cobblestone paths that are 600 feet in total length that leads from one fort location to this topside underground entrance. This shaft and this spiral staircase lead down into the depths of the earth, while this location, TM, is generally scrapped out. So we're going to continue in that direction. Let's see. Yeah, so we got about an hour. We'll see what we can do to expedite this process and knock this one down, and keep on keeping on. So hold on. I have a high likelihood of finishing the first draft of the mass combat system Ukulele Bard and I have been brewing for the past few months here, and I am going to get that into Josh's hands at Dungeoneer's Pack for him to potentially playtest, and I believe I'm going to be posting a read document to Terran's Discord as well, the Indestructiboy Designosphere. If you are not on that Discord, you are missing out. Just look up Indestructiboy on YouTube. His site is, or his crew, the baseball team, is a wicked team. So I strongly recommend, if you're into game design and variant rule development for 5th edition, get in on that channel, because this stuff is good. Generally, if you bounce something off of the crew and it can get cleaned up better, or it's confirmed as pretty strong. Strong not as in like this is broken OP rules, as in the mechanics are good to go to market with, which is what all a designer really cares about. I mean, you don't have to chasing after what's optimal is an errand for homebrew. Creating interesting mechanics that push the design space is different from pushing the minimum damage that classes can do. When you're developing and designing stuff, there's two things that you really want to do. You either want to pair existing options with new flavor and ideas, which is what Cleric's Corner is really good at doing. If you don't know the Cleric's Corner, you ought to check their stuff too, because that channel is fantastic at taking a spin. Like he just did a video on clerics, or sorry, on rangers, and like his idea about having a ranger be a siege weapon specialist is super on point with where the in-command mass combat system is going for 5e. So I was like, I will definitely give shout outs for Dave for that. But all his ideas are really fun like that. So you can either take mechanical design and have it better complement flavor by retooling what exists into new narratives, or you create new rules that cover the gap or take a new angle at the existing mechanics. And that's where a lot of quote unquote problems can brew up, because brew up, you see what I did there. Because if you're designing new mechanics, well, you really want to make sure, well, I'm talking like I'm an expert, MIO, what needs to happen when you're designing new mechanics is seeing how they affect the overall structure of the game and other classes that can implement it. Which is why I, as homebrew design and development of new ideas, I tend to build things that affect the entire game, like spellcasting systems, mass combat systems, ritual systems. These are different things that are on the DMsGuild. You can find in the link below. When I build new mechanics, I try to build them that affect the entire game. So if you introduce a new concept, you can see how do all the classes take advantage of this. How does it affect the game as a whole? Because if you're going to do something that affects like how spellcasting works, in my opinion, it needs to be ubiquitous, so that it's not a change that one subclass benefits from. It's a universal change that you can implement as a variant rule for your campaign as a whole. Like in Terran Indestructible Discord channel, we were talking today about why would a class get Bladesinger, Bladesinger's extra attack with the cantrip option versus just gaining a standard martial extra attack? And that is actually a really great question, because it really asks about what kind of action economy is being served by granting that. What limitations does the Bladesinger have for having gained access to a cantrip as an optional extra attack, as opposed to just a normal sword swing? And that is a really good example of a thing that can change the game, that needs to take into account all the different parameters that are involved with it. My take on it was, since this is my soapbox, I'll stand on it. Is that the Bladesinger has basically a rage feature that when you run out of blade songs, you run out of features. So the extra attack being replaced with a cantrip is actually a really elegant solution to allow them to always have a subclass feature available to them to use that is uniquely wizard in design. I think it actually would have been better to have that class feature on a sorcerer. I think it feels very much like metamagic. So stay tuned for my spell point sorcerer coming around. But it's a really good example of of power scaling and what you can provide as a means of providing unique flavor that matches the scaling of power that you're offering, and in this case, a subclass. This is actually a really good example of contradicting that statement. Whereas, I'd like to generally have new mechanics affect the overall structure of the game as opposed to a subclass. But this is a really great example of how that subclass specifically is benefiting from a unique mechanic. We see that a lot actually with Rage Mage options. Rage Mage in 3rd edition was when a barbarian enters its rage, you can cast a limited set of Rage Mage spells. And hold on real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. And we've seen a lot of people port that over into 5e, and I'm no different. My Rage Mage version, my version of a Rage Mage, will be present in the Martial Powers book that I've been working on, slow brewing, along with 1,000 other projects. But man, Martial Powers is going to be insane. And once I have the mass combat system out for some playtesting to folks, then I'm going to be able to spend some time on my evening streams, just playing with Martial Powers in general. there's a lot of sustainabilities. Like there's like no limit to concentration effects that can be generated for martial powers that I will spend time on stream developing. Mostly, hopefully, if it's done right, by grabbing MTG cards and just building concentration effects from those cards, which is ultimately what the Martial Powers project is all about. Taking MTG card flavor and mechanics and converting them into martial options. It just so happens that I can just build a book out of it. So that's the slow brew process that I've got going on that front. But yeah, so like the Rage Mage is an example of a subclass using unique mechanics to give a specific option to the Barbarian, which is while raging cast spells. And that is a large structural change to add to a single subclass, especially for a subclass that doesn't have it. I love the effort, and like I said, I'm doing it too. Granted, I'm doing it in a very, very different way, but I get the core of it. And I played a Rage Mage in 3rd edition. I freaking loved it. Mine was all psychic and like fear effects, so that he was literally a terror on the battlefield. But once you get up to 22nd level and you start bending Eldritch Master into the multi-classing, Eldritch Masters, they gain access to additional spell lists. So you gain access to the Rage Mage, and then you gain access, so you get your Rage ability to cast Rage Mage spells. And then when you gain Eldritch Master, you start adding additional spell lists to the spells that you can select from. So you get a Rage ability. In 3rd edition, the Rage ability was unlimited spells with heightened DC to spell saves while raging. And then when you get Eldritch Master, you then add the Cleric spell list, or you add the Sorcerer's spell list, etc. So now you have unlimited rage, and you're throwing things like Bigby's forceful, Bigby's. Back then it was like clenching fist, forceful hands, guiding hands. Was it grasping hands? There was like 5 different Bigby spells that Wizard of the Coast blended into one, which is just Bigby's hands. I think arcane hands, Bigby's arcane hands, something I don't remember. I'm not looking at the document. I'm just rambling, so don't hold me accountable for the names of specific spells right now. But yeah, in 5th edition, doing that with the Barbarian, super broken. Awesome flavor. I've been meaning to make a Bigby hand subclass for somebody, and honestly, Barbarian might be the right one to do. So I am sitting here like editing in the back of my head. It's like, well, how could you make a Barbarian that only has access to Bigby's clenching, Bigby's wrestling grasp? So the way that I depicted it in 3rd edition when we had it was that he would, as a Barbarian, he would wrestle with 2 Bigby hands. And with the multi-concentration system that I developed, that Tal'Dorei is now helping reinforce with the Moon Druid that they have, there is a viable published path for a Barbarian to have 2 Bigby fists as his wrestling grasps. In a Dark Sun campaign that I had done, it was a professional wrestling spin-off Dark Sun campaign for 5th edition. We didn't get as far into it as we wanted. The last major contender they had was a sand kraken with 10 tentacles that the team had to wrestle into submission to win the adventure. But one of the characters that I want to have come to fruition was and I can still do this as an alternate thing, but it's a beholder that its eye stalks control different Bigby hands, so it could have up to 10 Bigby hands at once wrestling the team, which is kind of like a version of the Sand Kraken, because the Sand Kraken had 8 tentacles they had to fight, but as a beholder it could shut down magic or wrestle you with its magic hands. Spoiler alert, one of my plans once I get these flagships off my belt is to do a book of variant beholders that do things like that. I also, in one adventure, I had a beholder that replaced some of its ice stalks with Summon Planar Ally. So it had a couple of ladrons that were basically permanently enslaved to it. It could just aim its eye and then use its eye stalk to manifest an eladrin that would be able to do meat space stuff for it. Like pick up things and manipulate items and fight for it. And if you kill it, it would just use it again. So it basically had a infinite minion of eladrins that it could just throw at you constantly, while also like slowing you and disintegrating you and all the other nasty stuff that beholders could do. But instead of having telekinesis, it didn't have telekinesis. Instead, it had permanent hands in the form of eladrins that it could summon and manipulate space for it, which was a lot of fun. There's so much cool stuff you can do with a beholder if you swap out its eye stalks for different spell-like abilities and just lean into that. So I don't blame anybody if they grab that before I get to it, because I will not get to it until 2023-ish. But I will do it. Even if somebody steals it, I will still do it. All my stuff I'll still do if somebody steals it. I don't think anyone really pays attention to what I do here on my stream, so it doesn't really matter what I share. But we were talking about this on the Indestructible Boy stream the other day with the Runekeeper. Trikiros had created home base advantage, which is amazing. Trikiros completely killed it with that product. It's on the front page. It's like number 2 or 3 right now on the DMsGuild. And absolutely check that out, because they did a fantastic job with that. Taryn was the layout designer for that, but that was 100% Trikiros' baby, and it is an amazing project where you basically get lair actions for every creature in the monster manual. If you're buying extra monster manuals, you should get home base advantage, because it just complements and opens up so many ideas for what you can do with, if you've got like 100,000 monsters that you've purchased through various monster manuals, you really ought to get home base advantage to have lair actions for at least a couple hundred of them. So get on board that train, man. But we were talking about the swagger of having a product be 100% preview, and that's been resonating since we had that conversation. What was it, yesterday? That the idea of being scooped or having something stolen from you, and so you don't want to share what you're doing, I think is absolutely the wrong approach. Granted, my stuff has a design time of a production timeline of like a year or 2, depending on what the project is. So it takes a long time for me to brew it. But sitting on it and not having it be a part of the discourse, a part of the conversation about what is Phil doing, I think has not served me. I think I need to stream this stuff more, not less. Get ideas out about what I'm doing. Make them more transparent, more apparent. Let people see what I'm doing. And not be afraid to share what it is that I'm working on. I think ultimately it's just going to make me a better designer. Having the process be more transparent for folks so they can see what I'm doing, I think honestly would probably make what I do more interesting. So I'm going to be opening up my my workbench for folks to see what it is that Phil works on when I'm streaming. So this is just morning muses. What time is it? 7:12. Yep. This is what I think about when I art. So I'm just kind of sharing my flow of consciousness for you. If it's stuff that you're interested in, if you want to see what I'm going to be getting into, definitely subscribe. Here's click my link below to see some of the stuff that I've already built that is going to get expanded on. I am really, really looking forward to the rest of 2023, 2024, all this stuff. My goal, I don't care how long stuff takes, it's just got to get done right. But my goal is to have all these things done by 2024 when 5.5 gets released. so that I can then go back through and rework all of it so that it remains compliant with what the new is. So, time for some coffee and take a break, Phil. Jeez. So, yeah, we're building stone pathways. We are building stone pathways. When stuff doesn't take a lot of mental power for me to do, then I tend to ramble on like this. And I know this is an Eberron adventure design stream. I'm not really talking about Eberron adventure design right now, and that's my bad. I just gotta work through whatever it is that's in my head so that I can keep the pen moving. Which is a reason why I'm off stream a lot of times, because a lot of times I'm processing trauma. Processing trauma. Hello. Yeah, you don't do that on stream. That is not the share space I wish to create for this channel. But yeah, so we're creating these stone pathways. The sides of these are eroded because it's in a swamp. And so the swamp is eating at the edges of this, slowly swallowing it up. And the Carnathy guards that are patrolling the area use these pathways to get from location to location. These are separate image documents that you can that'll be on a separate. You can see here it's on a page. You can cut it out and put it on its own page. You cut it out and then put it on your map, and you can line them all up so you can have a long string. And as a piece of paper, you can take out the back end of it and just drag the string, and then put the new one at the front end to have an ongoing corridor of these stone pathways. And on a virtual tabletop environment, there'll be transparent background JPEGs so that you can drop them also into your virtual tabletop and play them out. And we're going to these are decidedly more jagged than these are, and I think I need to smooth these out a bit. It looks more chewed on than eroded. Erosion needs to have a smoother, less jagged edge to it. So I'm going to see if I can work through here and smooth out some of these jags. Not all of them. You want some texture, but for a swampy, like pseudo water line, frazzled edges is not the right texture. It needs to be smoother. So I am smoothing this like these little jiggity jags like this. No, that needs to. You don't want to have like recesses like this, unless you're specifically doing a specific contradiction. But for the most part, for this like quote unquote water line, you want to have a fairly smooth flow from one section to another like that. Like you can have these like inlets, and that's fine, but they have to be specific decisions that you're doing that to complement to be a spice flavor, as opposed to the normal texture of the meal. Like doing this for the entire map would be like choosing rice instead of pasta, as opposed to this just being like a little flavor, like a little spark of basil in your pasta. I don't know if that analogy is any good or not. Let me know. I am recognizing from the Google Analytics or the YouTube channel analytics that I get about 10 minutes of viewing for each one of these that I do. I mean, like when somebody views, on average, it's about 10 minutes. And so I'm still trying to figure out what's the best way for me to do this work and to get the runtime up. So if you see this, just mute it and put it in your background and let me get the hours. and you can just open up another window and watch other content if you're on your desktop. That way I can get more hours logged, because I will not get monetized until I have 1,000 viewers, which please subscribe and share, and until I get 4,000 hours. And at 10 minutes average view time, it's going to take me about 2 years for me to get monetized, which would honestly coincide with the 2024 calendar. So if that's the fate, if that's how it's going to work out, then I am good with that. But I am also very much recognizing that the content that I produce, I have to own. Unfortunately, most art channels, the way that they build it is that they stream it and then they fast forward it and then they talk about something. And that has not been the format that I've been adopting, because I like doing this open conversation about stuff that I think about, that may or may not prove productive in the long run, but it's kind of how I'm rolling. And maybe I'll eventually build an audience to the point where people show up and engage me in conversation, and I can talk about this stuff, but not just be talking to the void. So if you want me to talk about something that is interesting to you, again, subscribe, like, show up, ask me questions. My chat's always open, and I'm happy to engage. Even you bots, if you got links that you want to share, no one's going to click on them, but we love the effort. So be welcome to swing by, give me a couple seconds of viewability, and try to pollute people with your link poison, and we'll teach the kids to not click that stuff. You be you, Robot Boo, because no one's going to stop your flow. God, I'm excited about this stuff. This book is going to be awesome. Andy's on board with us doing a portrait format, a landscape format. So you have your 11 inch by 8.5 inch, and then we have 3 columns. They're going to be 3.2 column wide each, with a 0.2 inch gap between each column. And that allows me to do things like I can have... Forgive me for a second. I am about to jump onto a quick design tangent, where if you've got... So you got you got all your text that you put in here, and then you've got a column of text here. Each is 3.2 inches wide with a 1/2 inch border, and then you got your 3.2 inch here. So in a design space like this, as a portrait format, and you see this on Narfel, which is something that Ted at Nerd Immersion had grabbed off the DMsGuild. He once a month he grabs 3 products that he thinks looks interesting, and then he just tools through them on his channel, and all of them end up going gold almost immediately when he does, because his audience is amazing. So I wasn't aware of Narfel until he put that, and that's amazing. So actually, I'm going to take a quick tangent here, go to DMsGuild and see how Narfel is doing. DMsGuild, Narfel, Narfell. Let's see where it's at. Yeah, it's still climbing. So, but the format in that is awesome. It's got three columns, and then you've got the gaps here, which are 0.2 inches wide. So each of these columns is 3.2. There's a 1/2 inch border here, and then 3.2 inches, then 0.2 inches of gap, 3.2 inches, 0.2 inches gap, 3.2 inches of text, and then 1/2 inch here. So it's super modular. So you can there. You can wipe that out, and then you can drop a picture in, and then have stuff underneath it. Or you can wipe out a block here and have your picture here, or like a map here. You can do stuff like have one column running down this side and wipe out this entire column here, and then have another page underneath it, so that you have a long string. Like if you zoom out, and you've got If you got one page here and then you got another page here in the document. Oh my God, I'm killing myself. Come on, Kearney. Oh my God, it's just an illustration. You don't have to worry about it. But like, you can have a lineup like this. You have 3 pages that scroll through on the PDF, and you just have one column that's running down the side, and then you have this ongoing illustration of a map. So you can do things like that. Super cool design space, and so you got the cover, and you got your blah blah up top, and then you got a picture here, and you got a DMsGuild symbol. But then when it's drawn on the DMsGuild, you've got the picture here, and then you got your doobly-doo down here, and you got the title here. So this here becomes this here. These portions aren't proper, but you get the point. So that's a design space that we can play with, and you can do things like cut off half the top here and have an illustration here, and then you can break format and have text that runs. Like you can do two columns here, so you can when you pan out and and it sits on your landscape monitor, this stuff sits on the page pretty nicely, so you can have just the whole page visible at once. So you can do 2 columns like this and a half page here, or you can go back to the other format. So you can, depending on what it is that you're depicting at the time, you can switch between 2 and 3 column formats at any given time. It's super flexible. I am really looking forward to just building the layout on this thing. Is going to be super cool. So I am anxious, but not in a hurry, to get this thing done right, so that I can start building that awesome design space. Oh my God, this thing is going to be so fun. But I'm doing these maps. So honestly, this what time is it? We're at 7:30. Probably isn't the best use of my time during the stream, but this is stuff I got to get done, so I'm just getting it done. And you know, I'm honestly just getting myself familiar and comfortable with doing the stream process with this adventure. I know this isn't the most interesting or productive thing to be doing, but it's something that needs to get done. So when I have things that need to get done, I do it on stream. That's how I illustrate things. I'll be doing this more with writing. I don't know how interesting watching people write adventures is, but you can see if you follow, if you go to all the other stuff in the Eberron, the Crystals of Mabar adventure design playlist that this will be added to. I'll be peppering in more and more of the actual text, and let me know if that is interesting, because this is going to eventually switch over to artwork in the morning, like full-time artwork all the time. Once the adventure is actually finalized and I go into layout, I'll do the layouts here, and then once the layouts are finished, I will go into doing all the artwork that fits in the layout space. All the NPCs will have portraits. There'll be a lot of location artwork. There'll be like dungeon room illustrations, environment illustrations, item illustrations, monster illustrations. That should probably do. And of course cover art. But it'll be probably 60 plus art assets that are dropped into this thing. It'll probably end up being 90 some odd pages, maybe like $15. We'll see what the price point needs to be, but it'll also be 100% preview, and it'll be discounted eventually and bundled with all the expansion ideas. Like we'll have a plague, like Andy was talking about doing a plague mist druid, which is awesome. Which is a druid that focuses on poison gas effects. Such a cool idea! Oh my God, a plague mist druid is so cool. I am absolutely looking forward to doing that with him. just like little peel-off pieces that you can, like the cemetery. We can build crypts and add like a random table of like stuff that you find in a crypt, and then build a map, and then build crypts into the map, and then release that as like a $1 thing that adds on top of this. Like when you build something, and you can limit the scope of what's in that thing, and then build little separate like 5-6 page documents that are standalone products that curve into what you're building, that you can then add on to as a bundle to the overall product, so that you're slowly upticking the cost of the bundle, but giving a discount to the flagship. They're called flagships. And when you have a large cost product, and then you start bundling things to it, like in the link below, the 5-color mana Spellpoint variant rules core mechanics is the flagship, and then Spellpoint Warlocks and Elemental Key and the revised 5-color spell list. These are all in the fleet that the product fleet that goes along with the flagship. And again, the flagship is in that example is the core mechanics book, and then like Spellpoint Sorcerers will be another PDF in the fleet. When I build out Artificer, that will be in the fleet. It's all these little extension products that you can slowly uptick the cost of the bundle as more and more things get added to it, and then each individual piece is its own pay point. So like I might get $1 for like Spellpoint Warlocks, for example. That's a Electrum bestseller, well on its way to gaining gold. I am infinitely amused that pay what you want. Spellpoint Warlocks is going to end up being my first gold product. It's just the irony of that is hilarious to me. But it's true, because it's pay what you want. It's $2. You don't have to pay for it at all. If you do decide to buy it on its own, I get $1. But then in the color mechanics bundle, it's $1, and it's hard coded inside the bundle. So you get like $35 worth of stuff for like 20 something bucks in the bundle, and Spellpoint Warlocks is a piece of it. So what ends up happening is people pick up Spellpoint Warlocks, and then they see all the stuff that's involved in Spellpoint Warlocks, and they end up buying the bundle because all of it curves into each other. So I'll be able to do the same with Spellpoint Sorcerer. That'll be like Elemental Key is like $3, and it's $2 in the bundle. It's 100% preview, and it's like, if you like this stuff, check out this other stuff, and then people end up buying that too. That's just how marketing works. When what you do appeals to somebody's design sense, abilities, and what they want to do with 5e, then if they like what you do, they end up just buying all your stuff, which is how the system is supposed to work, and it's awesome that it actually does. So going back to the home field advantage and other books, having it be available, having it all available on preview, allows you to actually reference the document. Like when you pick up my books, you'll see me referencing other books that are 100% preview, so you can go check them out and see how they curve together. And I love that. I absolutely love that about PDFs and about the DMsGuild. I think that's wonderful. In the long term, that's going to really pay off for me, because like when Martial Powers comes out, I can then build a Discord and start building Kaladesh. I can build all sorts of stuff. Like I could build Greyhawk stuff on my Patreon that uses the different mechanics that I published, like Theurgy. If you want to do a Greyhawk supplement and then have like world magic that uses Theurgy, then you can go check out page 17 of the Theurgy book that I built, because it's 100% preview. You can just go look at it, and you can see the reference, and then you can carry on. So if you make everything 100% available to view, you can shorthand your mechanics and stuff if you want to, or you can see how the mechanics you're introducing in one book is present in another, so you can make those connections, which is what I end up doing, like concentration effects and duration effects, epic level spell effects. I tend to duplicate those in different products when they're relevant, so that people can pick up that this is a recurring theme in the products that I do, and they can start making that mental leap. It's like, oh yeah, these things all tie together. This is how it's supposed to work. So there's about 4 or 5 different like 5-page documents that we can create that are completely unnecessary but totally relevant to this adventure that we're making. And it's just going to be fun to be able to just peel out and make little, like, you know, take a weekend and build little add-on things, jump on stream, make some artwork for it, and then put it on the guild and share on it. So it's just fun, fun stuff. I'm really excited. If you go into the DMsGuild often, you're gonna start seeing what is it? Daylight Productions, I think. Mentored products. Mentored project, I think is what it's called. Cam Day is A, he's a great guy. But B, he's doing a great job with mentoring people, like, and that's a path that I want to go on as well. Which is, here's an idea that I have, somebody go build it. I will edit it, and I will lay out, and I will produce the art for it, and I can stream all of that process. So once you finish your text, I'll edit it for you. And then give you my feedback on it, and then once you're done with the edit process, hand it back to me, and I will build it, and then we'll put it on the DMs, and we will share profit on that. That is a place that I absolutely want to get into, and that's something I think would be a great reward for Patreon. Like, if you're a Patreon follower, I will mentor DMsGuild products with you. So you're basically like subscribing to hire me to help you build your products, and I think there's like, if I have 2 or 3 of those, I think that would be a fun space to be in on a monthly basis. There's so much stuff I want to get done. So much stuff that I want to do is reliant on me finishing these other products. Like, there's so many things I want to do with Rangers, but I can't do them until In Command is done. There are so many things I want to do with subclasses that will be much better served once In Command, once Martial Powers is done, because I can just start folding them in as pay what you want to buy into the book. Oh, this piece is looking better. Yeah, this outline is looking much, much better. Okay, cool. So I'm done with that outline, and then I can... It's a little touchy. There we go. Let me go back down to this one, and again, I'm curving, I'm smoothing out edges so they feel more swamp-like and less bitten. What will end up happening is I'll zoom in closer as I work on these things, but right now I'm just trying to... It's the overall outline that I want to make sure has the aesthetic that I want. So then that's how mapping kind of works. You rough it out, then you zoom it in and clean it up, and you zoom it in and you clean it up, and then you zoom it in and you clean it up, and then you're done. And then you color it. and then you're done. But this is actually a great practice. I'm trying for my illustrations. I'm trying to get into a place where I'm building finished line art, and then adding color, so I can do a more graphics color effect. So I can have so I can speed up production time. My pen work, my pencil or sketching is really fast. Color is incredibly slow, and I think what I want to do this year with my illustrations is work on building finished line art that I can market through DTRPG, and then have a colorized version of it with the line art intact. So I build a different aesthetic. I've been going after a semi or hard realism effect, and it's not viable. It takes too long for me to produce each piece. Eventually, if I get my speed up, I may be able to find my way back to that. But I think what I need to do is get my line art up to like super fast speed. So I'm producing good line art at a very fast clip, and then going back through and adding color as more of a decoration than the main medium. So I think that's going to end up serving most of my work well. I think it's going to help create a more distinctive style. It's a bit of a risk take on my part, because it's divorcing myself from the expected art packs that you have in Wizards of the Coast. So like it'll be difficult for me to decide to go use the art packs that DMsGuild provides from Wizards of the Coast books if I decide to go with an art style that's completely different from it. But ultimately, I think that's where I'm going to need to go, because I found myself producing lower level quality than I want for the sake of expediting the product. And I think what I need to do is, instead of fighting those dynamics, is lean into those dynamics. So anyway, more mind rambles. We'll see. The problem I have with that is that my landscapes are very realistic. Like, I have really good landscapes, and putting in less realistic characters into those environments is I don't like when anime has computer animation over hand-drawn cell characters. I don't like the conflict in style, and that's the problem that I have with having different levels of style in the environment versus the characters. So I'm going to have to acquiesce and downplay and stylize my landscapes more to be able to match the style of characters. That is my biggest complaint. But I think I can do it. It is something this is too wavy. That's not the aesthetic that I want. I want this rough but smooth edge. This uneven but smooth edge. What time is it? 7:42. We're doing great here. We are doing great on time. This is about where I expected to get in the hour of time that I had this morning. We're going to get past this soon enough and move into another piece. This weekend, I think this Saturday, I'm going to have a chance to do a lot of text, a lot of streaming of text. I'm going to be able to, I think later tonight, I'll have an opportunity to do some more spell point sorcerer. We're going to hand off the in-command mass combat system for some play testing, and if that comes back positive, then I'll be able to do a stream walkthrough on that, so folks can see how that works. Still got a long way to go, though. We're still building out there's the combat system, and then there's also guilds and kingdoms. Because once the combat system's in place, the scaling mechanic allows you to curve into building organizations using the same command mechanics, and then from there scaling out to building kingdoms, so that your character can take control of a kingdom and then build an army that protects that kingdom, so you can scale in and out of dungeon adventuring, and then as your character continues to grow in power, and sloshing through goblins doesn't make sense anymore. Now you can start sloshing through armies of goblins to protect your realm and the people that are in it. It's something that you saw in first and second edition, but first and second edition didn't have a very elegant system for scaling that, and the purpose of In Command is to allow for that scaling, so that you can do things like Test of the Warlords and actually make it make sense from levels 15 to 20 in your 5e campaign. Taking on and taking over from Azariel in Descent into Avernus, or like taking the Storm King Thunder's flying castle and like taking it from him, and now you have a flying castle, and now let's go tear up the world. That's something you'll be able to do. That's what this book is offering. So that's going to be exciting. And I'm not talking about Eberron. I'm so sorry. I'm so excited about what's next that I'm not in this moment. So let me just stay here with this. I mean, I'm not really talking about much here. It's just like there's so much stuff that's in this book. It's like I want to talk about that stuff when I'm on that page. So I'm not talking about. Anyway, it's an ordeal. I'm still trying to figure out what language I'm supposed to be using and what should I be talking about when I'm illustrating stuff and yada yada. I keep bouncing around. If anyone has any feedback about how is what I talk about is interesting or not, I would love the feedback. I'm trying to find out what's the right thing for me to be talking about during these streams, and what's is it interesting? Is my random rambles, is it actually interesting while I'm sitting here scrolling text or not? Again, ultimately, if folks start plugging in and I have some folks showing up to keep me company while I do this stuff, obviously the conversation is going to be very different. These are the type of topics of conversation that I enjoy. So there. Okay. So we got those built. I am going to grab a random chunk. Let's grab this. And we copy that. We save. And we go to this document and we paste. And then we retransform. We're going to flip. So you can just drop that in there. Like you could take this picture and put it on top of this. So it ends up looking like that. And then we can, again, and then we can retransform and then clockwise 90 degrees. And then flip vertically, enter. How fun. How fun is that? Let me go to here. Yeah, we can go to here. We can grab this. Copy. And paste. There it is. Merge these. We can retransform, rotate, and then flip, period, equals. Oh, wait, I can rotate this, retransform, rotate counterclockwise. Yeah, no, I think I want to leave that edge where it was. So we're going to get rid of that guy. That was worth exploring. Maybe we can. No, too much symmetry. Ah, but what I might be able to do is... fun that is. Instant texture, huh? What a useful thing. So I can keep this around. And just implement this. Like I can just pull from these things anytime I want, and then bam, just a few moments I got some texture. Super useful tool. Merge down. Yeah, so there's that. And Yeah, it's 7:53. So yeah, I'm building these things, and then I'm taking that and I'm tearing out pieces of it and I'm dropping it in here to create these little texture elements. So that's fun. Tomorrow's Friday. We'll come back through and we'll start doing the interiors of these pieces, and then we'll be done with this page. And then on Saturday, we'll focus on text. I'll have some stream time later on tonight. I think I'll be doing some Spell Point Sorcerer later on tonight. So subscribe, all the bloody blah. Jump on board. Thanks for checking it out. I really appreciate you. But there we go.